bottom up versus top down approaches to planning, periodization, and ultimately how to think about planning your training in a way that fits what you're doing, right? So there's really good articles by John Keeley, who basically kind of debunks that periodization theory can really even work at the level of like sports teams. You can go check out some of his work. There's also arguments on the other side that periodization is really useful, and I really don't have a good argument for or against either one of them. I think when you're working with athletes who like know the general structure of their season and they have certain constraints, it's really good to have periodized approaches. But even then, there's a practicality measure of like on the daily program, there has to be the ability to adapt and vary things based on athlete feedback, based on, just the nature of humans being super dynamic, right? But basically think of it this way: top down is looking at the overarching goals of a human or a team and starting to try to plan out in a rather systematic way, with time frames, certain approaches to training. So, I really do think that I like to take like a seasoned approach to training, meaning it's fun for me to run more in the summer. And I'm also like going to compete in Olympic lifting and powerlifting as I get older, but I'm also going to play sports. And I'm not going to be super good at any of those things. I'm just going to have fun training and performing and playing because it keeps me interested and keeps me engaged, and I just like it. I'm going to get better. I will say that. I should give myself some credit here. But having kind of a seasons-oriented approach where it might be a little bit more top-down can be really advantageous, right? But there's still the practicality of like the day-to-day training, right? And so a bottoms-up approach is really looking at things as like, what can I do right now, right? So if I want to get better at sprinting, right, and I want to get better at sprinting over the course of 6 months or so, and I look at over the course of the 6 months and I plot a course, I still need to understand like, okay, where do I need to be right now? And I also want to come up with like basically the simplest way to start and then iterate that process, right? A lot of these these concepts come from the Strength Training Manual by Vladen Jovanovic. Super freaking interesting and good book, both philosophically and practically from a training standpoint. But the big thing that I think people overlook is just how you have to be really flexible even when you have a good overarching plan. Having a good overarching plan is really, really important, but being able to modify and auto-regulate on a regular basis, using things like reps in reserve, RPE, just even pivoting from exercises that maybe are too stressful in a period of time to less stressful work, or just incorporating more variability in like maybe your rest, your rest days and your rest ratios, and even just thinking about training more like as a system, and you're not just moving towards like a certain goal, but you just trying to level yourself up over time can be really beneficial. Ultimately, I think the biggest thing that I think people struggle with is making good decisions from the day-to-day standpoint because they're having like a bad day and it doesn't feel like they're going to get onto their goals and get towards their goals. And this is for both rehab and training. Like, you're going to have bad days even when your training is going well. You're going to have bad days. When your rehab is going well, you're going to have quote unquote bad days. Most of the time you're actually performing better than you did a while back, but you don't see that in the here and the now. And the biggest thing is to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and just continue to move forward and make flexible changes and orient towards the long term, but just focus on the process in the short term. So thinking about top down, bottoms up, and ultimately what you can do right now can be really, really useful. That's all I got for today. Peace.